Hello everyone, and welcome to York, Pennsylvania. My name is Thompson Dasher. I'm a fellow with the Civil War Institute at Gettysburg College. Today I'm standing in a location known as Penn Park. During the Civil War, it was the site of one of the largest Union hospitals. From its course of service from 1862 to 1865, it treated over 14,000 wounded and sick soldiers. Now remarkably, of these 14,000 patients, only 200 succumbed to their wounds and illnesses. So that poses a rather interesting question. What measures made this hospital so effective and so efficient at treating these men? We tend to think of the Civil War as a period with very limited medical knowledge in treating men afflicted with battlefield wounds and diseases. Now clearly something was being done well here that allowed these men to recover at the rate that they did. And that's what we're going to be looking at in today's video. The effectiveness of this hospital, as well as the experiences of the men here, and the interactions that these men had with the local civilian population. Now we're going to start from the very beginning of this hospital service. It was formed in June of 1862, following the Peninsula Campaign in Virginia. Throughout the course of the summer and into the fall of 1862, there were only a few hundred men that were infirmed here at the hospital, but those numbers began to rise as the war progressed. Now fortunately, there were a number of experienced medical personnel that were assigned here to the hospital. Dr. Henry Palmer of Wisconsin was the chief surgeon here at Penn Park. He was the former surgeon of the Iron Brigade and had a great deal of experience that he brought to the table. He instituted many effective sanitary measures, such as ensuring that the patients were well fed and well nourished, frequently changing the bedding in the hospital wards, making sure that the wards themselves were kept clean, and requiring that the patients got plenty of fresh air and sunshine. Now additionally, one of the assistant surgeons had some desirable traits as well. Dr. Henry Smizer, a York native, had actually a good bit of experience as a surgeon. He had served as a contract surgeon with the Russian army during the Crimean War. Now in the Crimean War, disease was the #1 killer on both sides. Now Smizer's experience in treating disease then allowed him to be more prepared for it here. Now, in addition to the official medical personnel that served here, the Ladies' Aid Societies of York volunteered their services to provide treatment for these wounded men as nurses and as general caretakers. Now, the one Ladies' Aid Society actually planned a dinner for wounded men of the 87th Pennsylvania, one of the local units here. And this goes to show the tight bonds that citizens had with the boys at the front. Now also, Penn Park was the quartering grounds for the 6th New York Cavalry. And the presence of these cavalrymen and the wounded soldiers here was very beneficial to local shopkeepers and merchants around here, who could make money on the side and also provide some well-needed materials for the men as they recovered here at the hospital. Now York was caught up in the middle of the Gettysburg campaign in late June of 1863. With the impending Confederate invasion, Dr. Palmer knew that he would need to evacuate many of the men who were able to be evacuated here at the hospital. He organized an invalid battalion and sent away many of the walking wounded via railroad. And these grounds were actually occupied by Avery's brigade of North Carolinians. But following their engagement at Gettysburg a few days later, this ground would be swarmed with wounded men being sent here via the Hanover Branch Railroad. The numbers quickly swelled here from a few hundred to a few thousand men. However, the effective measures that Dr. Palmer had instituted were making things move very well here. One visiting physician described the state of the complex around this time. He said, This hospital is one of the largest in the country, having accommodations for 1,000 patients. The hospital and walks occupy 14 acres in a healthy and airy location. Excellent nurses are engaged, and the patients have every attention and care they desire. However, despite the top-rate care that these men were receiving, they still suffered from less visible wounds. The months and months they spent convalescing proved to have a large mental and emotional toll. They would much rather have spent time at home or be back with their comrades at the front. And many of the men who were able to write reflected this in letters home. A soldier in the 5th Connecticut wrote to his family regarding the men here. They have nothing to cheer them in their lonely hours of pain except books. These books were provided by many of the local merchants and shopkeepers, trying to give these men just something to try and pass the time with. Soldier in the 114th New York wrote, "I'm feeling rather lonesome today, so I thought I would commence a letter to you to pass away the time. I'm anxiously looking forward to the day, if my life is spared, I will get my discharge. I think when I get to my regiment again, I will feel better than I do here. I shall feel more at home at any rate." So just a few cases here really illustrate the bonds that men tried to maintain, of course, with their families at home and their comrades at the front, and how, despite receiving top-rate medical treatment, they still experience a bit of disconnect with their loved ones. I'd like to thank you for tuning in and taking the time to watch this video. Make sure to stay tuned for more videos on the Civil War Institute's Facebook page. Thank you.